What if I told you that one of Hollywood's biggest stars used to work as a nightclub bouncer, getting into fights and barely making rent? What if I told you that same man was told he was too street, too black, too British to ever make it in America? This is the story of Idris Elba, and what you're about to hear will prove that no dream is too big when you refuse to give up. Idrissa Akuna Elba was born on September 6, 1972, in Hackney, East London, England. His father, Winston, was from Sierra Leone. His mother, Eve, was from Ghana. They met in London and settled in one of the toughest neighborhoods in East London. Growing up, young Idris was surrounded by poverty, crime, and limited opportunities. Hackney in the 1970s and 80s was rough. Gang violence, drug dealing, unemployment. Many young black boys in his neighborhood ended up in prison or dead. But Idris had something special. He had imagination. While other kids were getting into trouble on the streets, Idris was watching movies and pretending to be the characters he saw on screen. His mother noticed. She would find him in his room, acting out scenes from American movies, imitating the accents perfectly. She said, "Idris, you're very good at this. Maybe you should try acting." But Idris's father didn't agree. Winston Elba was a practical man. He worked in a factory to support the family. He believed in hard work, not dreams. He would tell Idris, "Acting is not a real job. You need to find something stable." Idris loved his father, but he couldn't shake the feeling that acting was his calling. At school, Idris joined the drama club. His teachers were impressed. One teacher told him, "Idris, you have a natural talent. You should pursue this seriously." But pursuing acting seriously required money. Money for classes, money for headshots, money for auditions. Idris's family didn't have that kind of money. So at age 16, Idris dropped out of school and started working. He worked in a tire factory. He worked as a DJ at nightclubs. He worked as a bouncer at clubs, standing at the door, checking IDs and breaking up fights. The bouncer job was dangerous. There were nights when drunk men tried to fight him. There were nights when he had to physically throw people out. But Idris needed the money. During the day, he would go to acting auditions. At night, he would work at the clubs. He barely slept. His body was exhausted, but his dream kept him going. In his early 20s, Idris started getting small acting roles in British TV shows. Nothing major, small parts, background roles. But it was something. It was hope. In 1994, Idris got a role in a British crime drama series called The Bill. It was a small recurring role, but it gave him experience and exposure. But Idris wanted more. He wanted to act in Hollywood. He wanted to be in American films. Everyone told him it was impossible. They said, "You're British, you're black. Hollywood doesn't want people like you." But Idris didn't listen. In 1997, at age 25, Idris made a bold decision. He sold everything he owned, borrowed money, and bought a one-way ticket to New York City. When Idris arrived in New York, he had less than $200 in his pocket. He didn't know anyone. He had no place to stay. He slept on friends' couches. Sometimes he slept in his car. During the day, he went to auditions. At night, he worked odd jobs to survive. He DJ'd at small clubs. He sold weed to make extra money. Yes, Idris has admitted in interviews that he sold marijuana to pay his bills during this time. He wasn't proud of it, but he was desperate. He needed to eat. He needed to survive. The auditions were brutal. Casting directors would take one look at him and say, "You're too British. Can you do an American accent?" Idris would switch to a perfect American accent. And they'd say, "Okay, but you're too street. We need someone more refined." Other times, they'd say, "We already cast our black character. We don't need another one." Idris was frustrated. He was talented. He could act. But nobody was giving him a real chance. There were nights when Idris sat alone in his tiny apartment, wondering if he had made a mistake. He thought about going back to London. He thought about giving up. But then he would remember why he came. He came to prove that he belonged. He came to show that black British actors could succeed in Hollywood. In 2002, after 5 years of struggling in New York, Idris got his big break. He was cast as Stringer Bell in a new HBO series called The Wire. The Wire was a gritty crime drama set in Baltimore. Idris's character, Stringer Bell, was a drug dealer who wanted to go legitimate and become a businessman. The role required Idris to speak in a perfect Baltimore accent. Idris studied the accent obsessively. He spent weeks in Baltimore listening to how people talked. He practiced until his British accent completely disappeared. When The Wire premiered, critics were amazed. They said, "Who is this actor? He is incredible." Most people didn't even realize Idris was British. His American accent was so perfect that many viewers thought he was from Baltimore. The Wire wasn't a huge commercial hit at first, but it became a cult classic, and Idris's performance as Stringer Bell made him a star among those who watched it. Hollywood started paying attention. Casting directors who had rejected him before were now calling his agent. But even with The Wire's success, Idris still struggled financially. The show didn't pay as much as people thought. Between seasons, Idris still had to work other jobs. In 2009, Idris landed another iconic role. He was cast as the lead in a British crime series called Luther. He played John Luther, a brilliant but troubled detective. Luther was a massive success in the UK and internationally. Idris won a Golden Globe for his performance. He was nominated for Emmy Awards. Suddenly, Idris Elba was a household name. Hollywood came calling. Idris started getting roles in big films. He appeared in Thor as Heimdall. He starred in Pacific Rim. He was in Mandela: Long Walk to Freedom, playing Nelson Mandela himself. He appeared in Marvel movies. He starred in The Jungle Book as the voice of Shere Khan. He was in Fast and Furious films. He became one of the most sought-after actors in Hollywood. But what makes Idris special is not just his success. It's how he represents Africa. Idris has never forgotten his African roots. His father from Sierra Leone, his mother from Ghana. He often talks about how important his African heritage is to his identity. In interviews, Idris says, "I'm British, but I'm African. That's who I am. I carry Africa with me everywhere I go." Idris has used his platform to change how Africa is seen in Hollywood. He fought for roles that showed black men as complex, intelligent, and multidimensional, not just stereotypes. He also invests in Africa. He has bought land in Africa. He has talked about building film studios in Africa to help create a Hollywood-style film industry on the continent. Idris often says, Africa doesn't need to beg Hollywood for representation. Africa can create its own stories and tell them to the world. In 2021, Idris was named People magazine's sexiest man alive. He was also appointed as a UN Goodwill Ambassador. He has received numerous awards and honors. But despite all his success, Idris remains humble. He still remembers sleeping on couches in New York. He still remembers being rejected hundreds of times. When young actors ask him for advice, Idris says, "Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for Hollywood to accept you. Create your own path. Believe in yourself even when no one else does." Idris is also a family man. He's been married and has children. He often talks about the importance of being a present father and teaching his kids about their African heritage. Today, Idris Elba is worth over $40 million. He has acted in over 50 films and TV shows. He's a producer, a DJ, and a businessman. But his greatest achievement is not his wealth or fame. It's that he opened doors for other Black British actors. After Idris, Hollywood started looking at British actors differently. Actors like John Boyega, Daniel Kaluuya, and Letitia Wright all followed paths that Idris helped create. Idris Elba's story teaches us powerful lessons. First, your circumstances don't define your destiny. Idris grew up in poverty but became a star. Second, rejection is not failure. Every no brings you closer to yes. Third, stay connected to your roots. Idris's African heritage is his strength, not something to hide. Fourth, create opportunities if they don't exist. Idris is now producing and creating content. Fifth, representation matters. Idris's success proved that black British actors belong in Hollywood. From working as a bouncer in London clubs to becoming one of Hollywood's biggest stars. From sleeping on couches in New York to walking red carpets around the world. Idris Elba proved that dreams don't have passports, talent doesn't have borders, and African excellence can shine anywhere. So, what did you learn from Idris Elba's story? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible African success stories. Next week, we're bringing you the story of Trevor Noah, the mixed-race South African boy who was literally illegal at birth and became one of the most powerful voices in comedy. You don't wanna miss it. Thank you for watching, and remember, your accent, your background, your color, none of it can stop you if you refuse to stop yourself.